So that's great. So then when you ended up graduating Loyola, what in like your senior year, what did that look like for you? How were you like what was your launching pad into like the professional world?
I think for a lot of people at the beginning of senior year, there was like a lot of immediacy. I think a lot of people do their internship or like do their other little like, jobs and stuff, as they're told and like hustling a little bit here and there. But maybe by the end of, or by the beginning of senior year, like you don't really quite have a plan in place. You're like, I'd love to go out and get a job. But in the music industry, you can't just give somebody, your resume. So I think at the beginning of senior year for me, it was kind of like I wouldn't call it a panic because I think I'd been really, making the most of my 4 years here. But it was definitely like, okay, it's crunch time. I need to start thinking about how I'm going to pay my own bills. Am I going to try and do this independently somehow? Am I going to try and, go spend 6 months in LA and figure out if that's the place where I need to be? Fortunately, that EDM party that I started, it did well for a year or two and kind of fizzled out, but I was kind of able to transition out of that
Wait,
into a job locally. But I mean, I had a bunch of, I'm not really a religious person, but there's a quote that I love, and they say, you know how to make God laugh, tell him you have plans. And that's like, I mean, looking back on it, that's the biggest takeaway is that I had all these plans in place. How I was gonna like build this whole little strategic thing, and like it's good to have plans. It keeps you motivated. But yeah, beginning of senior year versus now, like how I think back on how I would have approached it, maybe a little different. Yeah, I mean, 100%. There's intro to music industry studies, like some of the economics classes I took were hugely important, learning how to use like Excel. I use those on a day-to-day basis, but yeah, the people and the connections that I made here were pretty incredibly valuable. And on the flip side, I think there's a lot of people here, like in this room, who don't realize how valuable this opportunity is. Whether you're putting yourself through school or whether like your parents are helping you, it doesn't matter like what reason you're here or why. Somehow you've been fortunate enough to like end up in this room around like 250 other people who are motivated to make a career in what I consider to be like one of the most challenging industries out there. I wouldn't have been able, I'm from St. Louis. There's no industry in St. Louis. I would not be here today with a career. I can say that I have a career doing what I love, and that makes me feel really, really grateful. I would not be here if it, were not for me taking advantage of the connections that I had while I was here. And it wasn't even just like a active thing. Like I got a network. It's like hustle, work hard. The people that are in your class are going to hear the questions that you ask. They're going to like know who you are. It's like you guys all know each other. The people who are hustling are going to naturally gravitate towards each other. A bunch of you guys are going to end up in the industry. Some of you guys are going to end up with jobs right out of college in the industry and are going to be like crushing it. And you're going to have friends that you really care about and who you know are hustlers too. And as soon as you hear about an opportunity pop up, you're going to call that friend.